Hey guys, how we going? I'm here to give you a update on how my character's going in Dawn of the Hunt, as well as talk about some of the drama that happened when I came back from a little bit of a break. So on day one, I played for pretty much 14 hours straight. I had to take a bit of break to sleep and deal with some other life things. So I have, have pretty much had 24 hours off. And I came back to hear, I guess, a lot of drama in the community regarding the difficulty of the game at the moment. Which, yeah, basically it's too hard. Although some of it appears to be warranted, some not. But I'll get into that after I've talked about kind of how my experience and character has been going. You can see some of the defensive issues I have there. Huntress and Spear have felt pretty good overall, though I may have been shooting myself in the foot early due to focusing too much on skills and boost to scale bleed rather than just kind of going with the full kit that the Huntress had to offer. Because, getting generic damage boosts, generally speaking, is a lot simpler to do than focusing on one thing when you don't have a full set of skills. So now I'm using a lot more bleed, and it's working pretty good. I definitely was struggling with the game a bit in the later half of Act 2 and Act 3. I figured it was, due to me being a bit lazy and upgrading gear. However, it does seem that the gear drops may have been a bit of a sentiment amongst the community where people aren't getting quite as much as they would hope for. So maybe that's not just me. I did have a better time once I spec more into general damage and got a bit of an upgrade to my weapon, which I got this spear here, which I actually bought from Oswald in Act 3 with the 102% fizz damage roll, which is huge, and then I got pretty lucky to get the flat damage on it as well. And once I got those upgrades, I was able to go more into bleed, and the bleed related skills have been very fun to use and quite satisfying, especially when you hit packs of dudes, they're all just popping with Herald of Blood, and pretty good. I have found that the area coverage of these sorts of skills is kind of bad without Herald of Blood or the Blood Boil from the Ritualist, as we don't really have any good kind of things to apply bleeds to whole packs of enemies. That's why I've started using this Whirlwind Lance as kind of the best way for me to prep enemies and throw stuff out first. I have still been struggling a bit defensively, where like one small misstep or a bad pack of enemies will get me killed. I do need to upgrade my gear still, as a lot of it is pretty scuffed. I did just get these boots, which are pretty good, but like a lot of this stuff is pretty bad. Yeah, but it does feel hard for me to upgrade my gear. Like going back and repeating zones can obviously work. However, either I'm getting pretty unlucky or the drops have been reduced. Like, feels just pretty bad repeating zones and not getting upgrades. Like, you'd kind of hope that, if you take a bit of extra time to do that. I know when I was in Act 2, I actually did that, and it took me quite a while to find any sort of an upgrade. I just need to get whatever I could. Now, overall, I think the game being harder can be a good thing, but it can feel jarring and thus upset some players when they have certain expectations of the difficulty of the game. I personally am one of those players that came from playing a lot of Path of Exile 1. I do like the change of pace of Path of Exile 2, but I can understand a lot of players' frustrations with the game, but I do think it's blown a bit out of proportion, as, the game's still fun. It's just there's some things that are kind of annoying. Obviously, they have addressed the fact that enemy health was a bit too high, at least during the campaign, somewhere around the stage that I'm at. I need to not stand in that. But yeah, I think you have to remember that the game is still very early in its early access development, and we have to be patient while we work these things out. Obviously, we need to tell them that things don't feel right, and they should do something about it. They are pretty good with that sort of thing. But I don't think it needs to be so, I guess, aggressive as what a lot of the community's been doing it as. And part of it is kind of a get good. And although I know a lot of players don't like to hear that, hell, I wouldn't like to hear that. I like to think that I can just play the game because I've already played it plenty and be great. But they did say forget everything you know about balance, and so that kind of comes into it a bit. But I guess, yeah, we'll have to kind of see how the updates go. And hopefully they do right by us and improve a lot of stuff. I like to think I have faith in GGG to do good, as they generally do tend to. But yeah, I mean, as you can see here, my playstyle versus bosses is pretty fun. I have a lot of like dodging in and out that I do. Apparently that didn't hit me. I think the yeah, there's been a bunch of issues though, like with I'm using Vulcan because when I was using DX12, my game was having a lot of issues. But then when I'm using Vulcan, certain things aren't rendering, like that effect didn't render, and his Flame Breath isn't rendering. I've also noticed some issues with Herald of Blood and the Blood Loss mechanic, where health bars will be extending past the screen if things haven't been bled, which includes allies. Looks like it may have been fixed now, but I'm not 100% sure. But yes, things not rendering has been a big problem, and I've seen it for both me and for other people playing. But yeah, difficulty... Yeah, there's the health bar issue right there. When I increase my max life. Perfect. Perfect example. So that will stay there until I get bled by something, or get fizz damage over time by something. Maybe these guys... ground stuff may count it for me. Yeah, in any case, I'm still happy with the state of the game. I think there's definitely some improvements that need to be made to make it feel a little less frustrating through the middle. Oh, like that sort of damage is insane. That was just a couple of guys. And yeah, as I said, this may be one of the things they need to adjust, is they still need to make more tweaks to enemies with the different pacing of the game. I do hear that a lot of people think that the enemies need to be slowed down with the slower pace of killing that they put in. Which I think is probably accurate, but I think I need a little more kind of playthroughs and, you know, actually have good gear, because maybe if I'm a bit tankier, this enemy speed may not be an issue. But then the tankiness could relate to the fact I haven't got upgraded gear. So, who knows really. One other issue I've noticed is that Herald of Blood and Blood Boil, they kind of clash with each other. So Blood Boil is the skill granted by the Ritualist, and all it does is make so enemies near you build up Blood Boil over time, and when they die, they will spread corrupted blood to enemies around them based on the amount of Blood Boils on them. Now, the issue that this has is Herald of Blood, which interacts with Blood Loss, which corrupted blood does do, so that's cool. Herald of Blood means that if you kill anything with blood loss, it explodes with the Herald of Blood effect, which just does some damage based on the amount of blood loss on them. The problem is, when they explode, the blood boils don't go off, because it just doesn't work, and I've seen it numerous times. And so, Blood Boil will cause Herald of Blood to go off, because Blood Boil does the fizz damage of time. But Blood Boil will get cancelled by Herald of Blood, because if Herald of Blood procs, then there's no corpse for the Blood Boils to pop off, which is kind of frustrating. So that one had a Blood Boil proc, which, like, alone would be fine, but I feel like they're kind of supposed to work together, and that's kind of a bit awkward at that point, where it's like, hey, two skills that should work really well together just straight up don't. They do kind of both do the same thing, so maybe I don't need Herald of Blood or don't need Blood Boil. That may be the case, but at the moment, I'm trying to make use of the tools that I've got, so I should do that. But yes, I do feel like getting upgrades to gear has just been a bit of a pain, and, you know, I'm hoping that things can be a little... What the... Like, that seems silly. I shouldn't be taking that much damage from 2 white mobs. I don't have the best defenses, but their fizz damage, like, I don't know what I can do about that. And there's a good example of just a few things lining up pretty badly. And yes, I could have played that better, but that feels silly, to be honest. But look, I do have faith in GGG to make the right choice in their changes. They've obviously, you know, they know how to make a good game. It's just that there's a lot of things that are hard to properly gauge until it's in the hands of the player, and fixes are not easy. So everyone needs to have a little patience, and for the time being, you do just have to... I need to play a bit better. I'm not singling anyone out. People need to learn to adjust until we do get the stuff that we want. I don't know what I'm doing with this character. In any case, whatever's wrong with the game, we just need to let GGG know. For now, I'm going to keep working my character, actually get to end game. I've been a lot slower than I would have thought, and dying a lot more than I would have thought. That could be due to all the difficulty stuff. I need to get some better gear. I need to actually go through and focus on certain bits of gear. Go and obviously do some gambling or buy some stuff from the vendors. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped to see how the end game is. I haven't seen too much about Rogue Exiles. Well, there's an upgrade. But yeah, Spirits seem cool, Rogue Exiles do seem cool. I just need to see how the corruption endgame stuff is. So I'll be doing that in the next day or two. And actually playing through and giving probably a bit more coherent thoughts about where the game's at. But yeah, thanks for watching. Come check me out on Twitch. I will be there, hopefully getting to endgame, and yeah. Thanks for watching.